In this episode of Business Success with Graeme and Leanne Carling, the couple are returning to the Algarve, Portugal, to visit one of only two female CEOs in professional football, the Chief Executive Officer of Mansfield Town FC, and her husband, a businessman and entrepreneur, and best known for being the chairman of One Call Insurance. This is, of course, Carolyn and John Radford. You are watching Business Success. Business Success is the program where Graeme and Leanne Carling discuss business with other industry leaders from around the world. Graeme and Leanne themselves building a group of companies through a strategy of company acquisition, which now has a multi-million-pound group turnover and employs hundreds of people across the country. Today, they are meeting Carolyn and John Radford, a couple whose business interests span insurance through to sport and who have philanthropic endeavours such as the Radford Foundation. In this episode, the couples will be discussing the current economic and business environment for businesses across all sectors and the importance of challenging perceptions when it comes to women in football.
John, Carolyn, thank you for inviting us to your beautiful home in Portugal. We're very glad to be here.
No, we're really pleased that you're here.
Yeah.
Good to have you here.
We're obviously looking to speak about business and just recently, obviously, COVID affected different businesses in different ways. Some businesses really thrived through COVID and some businesses really struggled. So obviously you guys have got a few businesses. Yeah. So if we could start with the football club, what was the initial, when you heard the lockdown announcements on TV, what was your initial thoughts, emotions?
It was kind of disbelief, wasn't it? And it happened very, very quickly. And it was so changeable, I remember. And it felt just very unusual. I mean, sport basically got stopped. Yeah. There were all the testing requirements for the footballers. No fans were allowed in, and obviously football's predominantly, it's about lots of people in a very small environment, shouting, cheering, singing, very close together and compact. So it was totally anti-COVID regulations, and it stopped.
I think there was a bit of panic to start with. I mean, we all got together, all the different chairmen. I set up a WhatsApp group and everything. We were having lots of discussions of how we were going to carry this forward. And some of our fears didn't actually come to fruition. So the panic sort of allayed itself quite quickly. The biggest problem was trying to continue to play the games without the fans there, but keeping the players from getting COVID and passing the COVID on to each other. I think that was the biggest part of logistics we had to get over with.
Because it's a very, obviously it's sport, isn't it? Yeah. So, you can't, it's so physically close, or you couldn't have them wearing masks on the football. It was all very, very difficult to manage. And the financial sides as well.
Yeah. I think we came very close to cancelling the season and stopping the season, as some of the low leagues did.
So, they had to.
So it came very close, but fortunately we were able to keep it going, and it was an experience for the League One and League Two clubs.
And I think as well it was important for the nation as a whole to not lose that as well, because a lot of us were, post-COVID depression. There was a lot of apathy around. Everybody was despondent, everybody was scared, and football's one of those things that it gives you a little bit of it's entertainment, isn't it?
It brings people together.
It brings people together, and I think for the nation as a whole, it was important that we did try everything that we could to keep things going. And iFollow became our major revenue source during that period.
We had our biggest crowds during COVID. Because it was the online stuff. Yeah. People had nothing else to do, so they would watch the local football team. And So that you know, that was nice, you know, and you felt like you were supporting a little bit the things that were going off at that time, and you know, some of the loneliness and things like that was happening.
And I think as well, I remember going back to it with regards to the football, was the atmosphere in a stadium. The footballers really need and rely on that energy, you know, that comes from the fans, and especially in the lower leagues. I think in, you know, the Premier League, and they were, you know, they'd put the crowd noise around to try and emulate it a little bit. We obviously didn't do that, and then a few directors were allowed in, and them, you know, cheering. I think they enjoyed it more than others, you know, getting their voice heard. But it was very difficult for them, and finding different ways then to keep them engaged and try and win a game.
So from the business side of it, obviously, you know, that's it with lockdown, no fans, effectively no income. What was the feeling like at that point? Where do we go here?
Initially, as I say, it was panic. And to be fair, the FL helped us out to a certain extent. They didn't give us any extra money to start with. They give us an advance on our next season's payments and things like that. So that helped a few of the clubs, and you know, and we were all cutting cloth as much as we could. We weren't spending as much on players a lot, because we didn't know what was going to happen. So, but once you got over that initial panic stage, and matches did start to continue, and we started to get revenue in from the iPlayer, and then we were realising then, well, you know, it's okay having a sale. I mean, our stadium holds just short of 10,000, so it's. When we're filling the stadium, we're getting sort of 7,000 or 8,000 in there. It gives us a little bit of revenue, but the revenue is not as much as you'd like to think, because when we weren't having the overheads of running the stadium, the money from iPlayer was helping to subsidise the football team. It wasn't quite parity, but it was very close. So that gave us a little bit of comfort. And then obviously, you know, then lots of things hit us during the pandemic period. I lost my mother, unfortunately, to COVID, and logistically for us as a family, we just couldn't move, and so we were trapped here and trapped in Portugal, which was quite sad for us at the time. Wasn't it?
I mean, there was lots of, you know, we kind of look back on it now, and I think as humans, you kind of move on from adversity, and you don't dwell too much, and you move on. But when you think about it, you know, there was a lot. You know, as we said, we lost John's mum very early on, before the vaccinations were rolled out, and before there was a vaccination even. And yet logistically, nobody could fly. We were very much alienated. But then at the same point, we'd moved over here probably a year before, so we were getting used to that distant working and doing everything on your phone, and you know, setting up teams and all that kind of thing. And I think that the pandemic also made people realise that you could work differently. You had to look to work differently. So
yeah, I think that out of our businesses, the football was probably one of the hardest ones to run. As far as the insurance goes, that was a totally different matter.
It was,
football.
So the remote working, I mean, we work together, the same as you guys. We work remotely, you know, we're based in Dubai, and we know the challenges. How do you guys find that? You know, working remotely, working together, and you know, many businesses.
I found it difficult to start with when I first moved over, but then obviously I was a year ahead of the rest of my company, and so I got used to doing it. And so, and then when everyone started working remotely,
they were following suit of things that we were already doing before. You know, you have to respond to people very quickly. You know, you can't say I'm not in the office or I'm not, and that's, you know, how times have changed in probably decade and a half, isn't it?
I think less than that. And I think the last 3 years has been a massive change for the world. You know,
that's true, actually.
You know, I've gone from less than 2% of my staff or 1% of my staff working remotely to, I would say, 70 to 90% of the staff working remotely now.
Okay.
So it's just a massive change.
Change then, John.
It does. It's hard to get them back.
I
mean,
so.
we're doing like lots of large companies down. We're turning the offices more into like meeting places where it's an environment they can come and meet their colleagues, trying to get them to come in once a week to get that team thing going and stuff like that. But we've changed our recruitment philosophy now. We no longer recruiting people local in our Doncaster area. They can be anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And so that dynamic will go.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll be able to keep that dynamic as long as you keep the efficiencies of working from home.
That's it. I think the efficiencies, it depends on the individual, and you'll always get found out anyway. So if people aren't, putting in the work at home, and you're going to get, found out eventually. But I think in terms of like a woman, it's actually been a good thing as well, because we can now recruit, and we're a bit more amenable to, you've got children, or you're pregnant, or you're coming back from maternity leave, and you find different ways of working. Whereas I think it used to be very difficult for women to try and balance everything, because I know, Leanne, you're probably the same. We work together and we run businesses together. We argue about things together in business fashion. We never really argue in a personal way, do we? And you've got the children as well to balance too. And from being out here, we haven't had that family around us or backup of, we used to have like nannies and, housekeepers, and we stripped all of that back to be over here. And do it alone. Why? I don't know sometimes. To spend time with our children. And I think that is now happening to a lot more people and females, that they are able to, drop the kids at school, pick the kids up from school, still carry on with their work, go put the kids to bed, still carry on with their work, that they're not having to be tied at the desk in an office until 8 o'clock, until 9 o'clock, because the men try and push it as far as possible, or to keep that culture is shifting. And from a female point of view, I know from the people that work for us, they've really benefited post-COVID to have that freedom, where they're still going to get the job done, but at the same time be able to run their life, really.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we kind of ran our business like that before COVID. I would drop the kids at school, take them to their clubs, etc., and then do some more work at night. You're maybe sending emails at midnight, etc. And you were getting your work done. And it was all about, what worked for us,
This is it.
You weren't missing out on the family life. And,
and I think it's the people lower down within your organisation as well that are now benefiting from that, because we had the luxury of being able to do that, whereas some of the other roles within the organisation, they're expected to be there, and now that's changed, and I think we at the top level can understand that you want the job done. But
there's lots of jobs where you can't do this.
But there is as well. We're just talking about our organisation.
I think it will go further. I think it will go a lot further with remote working, because when what annoys me at the moment, one of my biggest upsets is that we have a meeting in, say, the boardroom back in the UK, and I've got 5 directors in the boardroom, and there's 4 or 5 of us that are on Teams or working remotely. It's not the same. The person that remote, you tend to get cut out of the meeting a little bit if there's an argument going off and like that. So it's either we're all remote and we're on the level playing field, or we're all in a board meeting. So I don't like it. I don't like mixed meetings. They are awful to deal with, especially if you've got a strong opinion on something. It causes you lots of problems.
And I think remotely as well, it's very hard to get your personality across and to see situations too, because sometimes we try and pop backwards and forwards, but as often as we can. But how are things going? Everything's fine, and then you'll turn up somewhere unannounced, and you're like, what's happened here? That's
We've implemented a few changes like that, because a lot of people do want to work remotely, but we're saying, on a Monday, every Monday, that everybody must be in,
good.
because of exactly what you've just said. And thrash things out, be there in person. So
and people felt isolated as well, a bit disjointed. They didn't have that. So it was missing.
We try and do that to start with, don't you? Try and say, right, okay, so we try to have a mix and match. So we said, who wants to come into work? So we're looking for people who are, and then we were looking at vulnerable people. Then that we thought, you know, if you're on Skype or anything, and you can see them working in the corner of a bed in a difficult area, you try and bring them in. So we're trying to do all that sort of thing. I'm sure we'll find our feet over this next couple of years, but you know, but I can, you know, if we go back to the meeting situation, if everyone's remote, it's a fine meeting. It's just when it's mixed, it's causing me problems. But I think you do need to try and get a blend of people actually meeting and coming in. Same as you said earlier.
So obviously the two key, I mean, they're fundamentally different in terms of the football club and the insurance business. So we just on the footballing side, and if we just sort of tie that up. What's the, I mean, that's how many years now you've owned the club?
It's about 13, is it?
12, 13, 12,
yeah. So what's the plans then?
We're trying to get top 3 League 2 at the moment. We've stumbled a little bit the last few weeks. So we're trying to achieve top 3 League 2 and then go League 1. I mean, we're happy with our manager, we're happy with the setup. It's a tough industry to be in because everyone's trying to do the same thing.
It's hugely competitive, isn't it? And it really is, and it's unlike any other business, I think, because, you know, as much as you have the niceties on a match day, it's one team against another, and you all want to win. So it's like, oh, hello, and it's emotive. It's very, you know, so the people that you meet in the boardrooms.
I think
you're polite, but
I think in League 1 and League 2, the more money you lose, the more chance you've got of getting up. So it's not a business model at all.
No.
If you spend a lot more, you'll go up. But that's not always the case. There are exceptions to that. So, but it's tough.
But I think it overlaps with other businesses as well. You know, it is still the same thing, but it's lots. You've got retail. You've got.
I was going to ask that. Did you find the retail sales went up, you know, through COVID? Or,
we are now, things that are moving on within the club, we're now moving online a lot more, whereas that was one of the things that was left behind, wasn't it? There was a club shop. So we had mail order and things, but we've had to make that a lot more efficient in terms of sales.
All our ticket sales and everything are online now, but that was just us catching up with the rest of the world, I think. So as far as the retail goes and the restaurants and everything, you know,
we wanted to make
it called now. The system the government put into place,
furlough.
The furlough system worked okay for that. So we managed to run that reasonably well and get them open on time. So
because our idea was to make the ground active all the time, and you know, a place of activity, of things going on, and go for a Sunday lunch on a Sunday to not just be going there on a match day. And obviously during COVID, that all stopped.
Is there any changes that you made within the business or the football business that you still, you know, implement now, or you still carry on with now, or did you revert back to the old ways of working?
Football has pretty much reverted back.
So the IP,
iPlayers become more popular. And so that's getting used. So that's a good thing. And so what's happening now? People that couldn't get to the ground for reasons, you know, for their own personal reasons, are watching the football on iPlayers. So we've from, you know, as a positive point for the football, we've probably got a bigger audience now, and it's made people more aware of they can access games for League 1, 2 and Championship clubs live. And why I say it's not changed much, because I disagree a little bit with the EFL, we're not allowed to stream games live on a Saturday. You know, and I feel for the people that were watching the games live on a Saturday, because during the pandemic that rule dropped, and they could. And they're saying, well, you can't stream games live on a Saturday because it'll cut your attendance down. I don't think that will. No. I think it's only fair that they continue to allow them to stream live on a Saturday. So that's my political side, and I'm talking with my peers in the FL side. But so if I could change anything and put something we learnt from the pandemic, it would be to allow us to stream live. So that would be the one thing I'd change, but that's not changed.
So, okay, one call insurance then. Now I remember years ago I went on, you know, and got my car insured through one call insurance, I remember it, and I think it was cheaper. I think it was it was easier. It was quick, and they had the online portal thing.
Yeah.
It was dead easy. It was easy to use. You can go and check if you put a private registration on your car. You just logged in. You were able to change it. There was no difficulty about it, and I really liked that. I remember I got sent through in the post one call, ticket things, or you can put your key ring and all that stuff. And I used to tell people, one call insurance. I said that was really, really good. And I always thought, and again, that it was well advanced in utilising the technology. And is that one of the key points, John?
Yeah, I think that was always our key point, to try and cut down the costs.
Yeah.
So I've never, we're embracing the new regulations that have come out from the FCA, which stopped companies. We're sort of a mix, because we've got our own insurance company, we look at the rest of the market and broker around. Right. And so and the reason we set up our own insurance company was because people were getting price walked, and that was happening, with a lot of the big insurers, where they would keep someone for 1 year and put the price up for no reason at all. Yeah. And you say, why are you doing this? Yeah. Because that always used to hurt me, and so that's why that was set. But as far as technology, we've always been quite good at technology and trying to keep not ahead of the market, but see what insurance should be easy. It should be a case of you put your registration. There's databases that can find out most things about most people out there. Yeah. These are government databases and things. So if I've got your registration and I know who you are and where you live, I can find most of the underwriting details out. Yeah. So I don't need you filling in a massive long form in and stuff like that. Yeah. And then if I'm checking the rates next year when I come down to renewal of all my competitors, I should then be able to send you out a competitive quote for your renewal. Yeah. And if I'm not being lazy about things. So that's what we try and do. And what's happened over the last 3 or 4 years is we've moved from needing staff on the insurance and the quoting side. That tends to now be all IT people, because it's the computer that's speaking to you most of the time. And we're now concentrating on the customer service on the garage side. So we've built our own garage. We've got a garage up in Glasgow. We've got garages out through the country, so that we can keep the costs low for repairing, because we're not paying a middleman to manage and sometimes overcharge the repairs of our customers' cars, and we can get them in quickly, and we know what our customer service levels are, because we're responsible for them. So that's our move that we're doing at the moment, as far as one call goes, because we do want it to be a slick, efficient service. And we effectively want to take your money off you each year, and you'll be happy. Yeah.
But I think you had a lot to do with the setting up of all the original systems as well, didn't you?
Oh yeah, but
you knew back in the day. That's what we're saying.
That was DOS. That's 20 years, 25 years ago. I set up a little system, an old system, and I used to do that. So,
but now technology's changing all the time, and I think from the insurance side of things,
my IT team are a lot cleverer than
well, you have to employ people that are better than you, haven't you?
So that's all working fine. We try and take care of all aspects of our client's journey as far as cars are concerned. Right. So we're looking after them on the garage side, and we're looking after them on the legal side. So we're involved with legal people that are part of the group.
Legal company.
And then medical that's part of the group as well. So if you're seriously injured and stuff like that, we can help look after you. But I'm really happy with where the business is going. And as far as the pandemic, as insurers go, insurers profited a lot through the pandemic.
Well, because
we were taking money off you, and we weren't paying out on claims. Yeah. So what we've done is we kept our premiums really cheap in that period, and obviously made a lot of money in that period. But now what's starting to happen is the rates are starting to harden. Because everyone's started to do that similar sort of thing. And there's been supply line issues. So initially, what we do as an insurer, we do an author report every year which looks at factors that could, and we did a report on if a pandemic, this before the pandemic started. Right. And in our author report, we thought, well, that's going to make it more expensive for us to do repairs because of supply lines and stuff like that. Yeah. But it didn't make it more expensive because we never had any repairs to do because there was no one driving. Oh. But now that's now come into play because it's hard to get parts you can.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're having customers in a hire car for 6 months for a part that might cost £200.
Yeah.
So it's better to scrap their car, give them money for the car than do their hire car bill. So the thing is try to not make us part of the inflation thing and try to keep our prices low. Okay, because the easiest thing to do is, well, let's put our prices up by 20%. That'll take into consideration the inflation we're dealing there. So it's just managing that, because then it becomes a big snowball of things. If we increase our prices, everyone else increases their prices. Eventually, something snaps. You know, and it's criminal what happened, and you know the government helped a little bit. The energy companies, the way they just hiked their prices, you know, and the fuel prices have come down. We're not seeing the benefit of that yet. No. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I'll get off that pedestal for a little while.
No, it is. It's a problem.
It was a question we were asking each other, you know, because I was saying, I wonder, you know, the cars aren't out on the road, so you've less accidents, but we were wondering if maybe, you know, the house claims went up, you know, with people doing DIY.
You're exactly right there, it did, but not dramatically. Probably about 15 points increase on house claims, but you're talking a 70% drop on motor claims,
So in terms of the mix then, for one call, is it mainly carriage? What's the future? Is it to expand the range of?
We do the range. We like our brand. So our main stuff is cars, but I would say 25% of our book is household now. I might be wrong on that. It might be 30%, but 25 to 30% of our book is household. So we do get involved in that. And we do commercial as well. So we do big businesses and stuff like that. But that's more specialised, and we do like our main thing is car insurance.
I think I've read, Carolyn, somewhere that you'd said the move to Portugal was really for better work-life balance. Has it worked? Does it work? How's it been for you?
Well, there's been so many mixed things. I think it was Brexit was one of the reasons. It was obviously pre-pandemic. We'd been here before on holidays. And then we were working quite a lot, and when we're back in the UK, we kind of get pulled in so many different directions, and we also want that as well. You know, we're both we're the type of people that want to get stuck in, and that was, we had 3 very small children, so I had 3 children in 1 year, so twins and an older boy, and they were not getting our full attention. They were you know, with my mum or nannies and things, and we weren't seeing them very often. So we thought we'd give it a try while they were little, and see how it goes. I mean,
it was a definite lifestyle change. It was needed. Because we were spending all our time at work.
Because remember as well, we've got the insurance company, which has got all sorts of different offshoots. Like the One Call group is very big, and we employ, you know, hundreds, thousands, I think, is now people. And then there's the football. So the football's the Tuesday, Saturday. So the only day we'd ever really have is a Sunday. And then it's back to it again. So it's brought us a lot closer together, because we live together and work together, and we're remote now from the businesses. But we still go backwards and forwards to the UK as often as we can. And our children have benefited because they've had our time. And I wanted to do that, you know, and it's important, I think, that you know, work's very important, but that you have a balance too. I don't want to look back on years to come and think, you know, the children have grown up and they don't want to see me anymore. They're out with their friends, and I've missed that special time. So
I think it's special time for us. The children probably won't want to see us. But it's that time. We'll never get this time back, and I think that's another thing that's happened with the pandemic. People's lifestyles have changed throughout the world, and people are looking and saying, am I spending this time wisely? And
the expat community here has absolutely, you know, gone crazy. There's so many people moving to Portugal, and now they can work remotely, they can work from from here, and or going backwards and forwards in a hybrid kind of fashion. And we've made so many friends as well. We've got better quality of life. We're happier. The sun makes you feel better. So from a lifestyle perspective, you know, there's a lot of positives, but the negatives are that, you know, you can't be there all the time and micromanage every aspect of your business.
But that can be a good thing as well.
It can,
certainly,
yeah.
that you're not.
You have to trust people and let them do the job as well, and it brings them through as well. You know, we've got some fantastic directors, we've got some you know, managers that are great, and giving them the opportunity as well, and overseeing it can be a good thing too.
You're trying to retire me, aren't you?
I don't think that's possible.
No.
I think we found that through.
Not when it's your own business.
We found that through COVID that, you know, just what you're saying there, that because the team are working remotely, they all really stepped up to the plate, and you know, and maybe us being there, we're maybe holding them back.
Yeah, because
you know, so to let them
probably work better without you there. Yeah. No, exactly, and it's important as well. That's the evolution of businesses. That you know, you have to bring people through the corporation and let them know that there is that progression. That they will be recognised and they will be able to step up to the mark and do the top jobs. And listen to what your you know, experience, or you know, if you had adversity or any issues that you've had, they can learn from those and make their mistakes too. And you can then kind of say, well, there you go, told you so.
Yeah, totally.
To get to the size of where you are, was that all done organically, or did you have any acquisitions during the course? In terms of we're seeing certainly where we are, and just we our limited knowledge of the insurance brokerage market, but we're seeing a bit of a consolidation in that sector, where there's, you know, smaller brokerages are getting bought up by you know, bigger sort of outfits. Is that something that you guys are into?
It's not something we've really done. So we've done it all ourselves. But we have acquired 2 brokerages. Really more for friendly reasons than anything else. These are people that I know, so the people that retired and they've come to me and said, John, do you mind taking this over? So we acquired a Allen Upton brokerage in Derby, probably 25 years ago, 20 years ago. So small little commercial brokers, but we've not gone actively hunting for it. So it's all our own stuff, and we like to pride ourselves on the fact that we retain our customers. So we run a very high retention rate and try and look after our existing customers and try and add to that bank and keep that bank growing. And it's a fair old animal now. It's a fair old size. So you know, we're getting to quite a few percent of the UK car market. So it's nice, and our customers are quite loyal.
Yeah.
And it's taken time as well, hasn't it? You've not kind of rushed anything, although you are very driven. I think
it's taken me 27 years.
No, it's you know, it takes that kind of longevity, doesn't it? Sometimes. Yeah,
I've never gone for doubling in size or anything like that. So that's just sort of a steady growth every year, and I know what I've got and where I am, so to speak. So.
I think sometimes if you grow too fast, you lose your customers because you're missing out on some of the customer service and things. So growing at a steady speed, you're taking care of your current and existing customers.
Yeah, I like that. When I said the retention is key in the report of the business as well. That the customer retention levels, and even during COVID, had gone up, and it jumped out at me as that is clearly an important dynamic. And I don't know what it is in other insurance businesses.
No, most of them are a lot worse. We tend to reward our customers who stay with us. So we try and run sort of 5 price fixes where we won't put the rates up, something like that. Yeah. So we have like a platinum brand. So if you've been with us for a couple of years and you've not made any claims and you've been a good customer, so that's our first class customer. Why should we go? Well, we just said we'll try and keep your price the same, and we'll give you extra on products and everything for free. So that's we've got a massive pool of them sort of customers, which you know are fantastic for us. It helps us keep our rates down, and and it's good for the customer. So they feel safe, and you know, they'll get looked after very quickly, and hopefully, you know, we'll keep the rates as low as possible.
So Carolyn, both you and I work in male-dominated environments or sectors.
Yeah.
How do you think your environment has changed over the years, and has it been for the better or the worse?
I think it's changed, but I think it's changed quite slowly. So when I first went into Mansfield, it was such a huge deal that I was a woman in the role of chief executive, and you know, John's a strong businessman and he wants a successful business, and we'd been working prior together very well, and me being put into football was a bit of a shock, because I'd worked in a normal environment, I think, beforehand in business, where being a female wasn't such a shock. You know, I was just kind of keeping my head down and working, and then going into boardrooms of football clubs and kind of being almost sniggered at, and you know, oh, what's the? It was a very, very difficult time, I think, which I've kind of had to come over the adversity of being, you know, the only female in the boardroom, and then wanting to talk to John, and me just being kind of stood there and, you know, as the trophy wife, having to, you know, overcome that stereotype. It's still something that happens, I think, quite often. But now you've got, within football, you've got the females are coming through on the pitch. The Lionesses have done absolutely incredibly. And I know within our football club as well, I've been really keen to have lots of women working around the club, be it the physiotherapy, doctors, we've got female directors. Behind the scenes, there are a lot of females involved, but I think on that top level, when you go to like the EFL or the FA meetings, there's still quite a lot of men that have been in the industry for a long time, and the roles are very coveted, I think, and quite protected and guarded. So that I found quite unusual, and it's our business. So the boys come to the football club, and they're just seeing mummy, kind of running around doing her job, just and they find it normal. So I think the next generation will find it'll be a lot easier. But certainly, football, I wouldn't say baptism of fire, but I wasn't kind of, we've had to work to kind of change people's opinions as well, that it isn't, it shouldn't be a matter of, where you come from, what you look like, what your gender is, to be able to do a job and to do it well.
Can completely relate to what you're saying there. We're in the building services, construction industry, property. I'm sitting in meetings with Graeme. They're speaking to Graeme, but I'm the one that kind of runs it.
I know.
And then he'll say, well, don't ask me, ask her, she deals with it. So I can completely relate there, but I think you're right, the children, or our children, see,
It's a generational change then, isn't it? I mean, it's a lot better than it was a decade ago.
Right.
And, there's been a lot of championing of women as well, which I think is very important. Hopefully we don't go backwards on that, that continues, and because across the world, there's still a lot of female repression. So yeah, I'm definitely about female empowerment. John keeps me in the kitchen though, and I keep screaming to get out.
I keep Leanne out of the kitchen.
I know, me too, actually. Yeah, he's a better cook than I am. Yeah, but no, and we work very well together. I think you have different opinions as a woman. You have different ways of looking at things, and that helps you. Everything you run by me, and I'm the same with you. And then you come up with a solution that's based on two different things, because females are very different to men, and that's a good thing.
You can see things completely differently. I can hear telephone conversations that Graeme's having, and I'm saying, why are you doing it that way?
Exactly, absolutely.
So you can get to a point where we can't make a decision by ourselves. She can't make one without me, and I can't make one without her. You have to have a mutual thing. So that's it.
Yeah.
It's getting close to that though.
Okay, so you're both obviously very successful in what you're doing currently. Are there any plans to expand or diversify, or stick with what you're doing?
I think as far as the future goes, we'd like to get promoted. We'd like to get the club up a league or two. That would be our ambition.
Yeah.
And get the academy up to a high level. So we've got a little bit of work to do there. The insurance company, that's doing fine. The insurance company is probably a little bit more difficult because of the way the market's going. Are we going to move to autonomous driving? Is it going to be a situation? So we've got to keep an eye on the way the marketplace is going. So by 2030, we're going to have all electric cars. Yeah. Once you have electric cars everywhere and stuff like that, you know, Carolyn's new car back in the UK, I get in that and press a button and basically the car drives itself.
Self-driving. I think in Dubai they did the first flying car, didn't they, recently?
So that's coming, and then it's where the liability, does the liability then go to the manufacturer, and so will we be insuring the cars, or does the liability go with the person that's in the car? So we've got that to face. So that's an unknown coming to that particular industry, and so that won't happen on household insurance and commercial insurance, but that might change our market stance as far as the brokerage is concerned for car insurance. So that's probably our biggest problem, or it's not a problem, but our problem event that's going to happen. Yeah.
But I think you always move with the times, or that you're always evolving all the time, and then even every single day there's something different. Like you can't predict what you're going to be doing. In the future, it's difficult. I mean, you know, from the football side of things, John's from Mansfield, so he wants to give back to the community. You know, we're into philanthropy, and I think that I definitely want to move more. I feel like my responsibility is to really help people within Mansfield and the surrounding areas, and give back to the community alongside the football club. So that's one thing that I'm personally working on at the moment. And I have 3 little boys as well that are obsessed with football. So they want to be to enjoy the football club and Mansfield. They're definitely you know, future players or running the place or whatever. And so I don't think the football club will be going anywhere anytime soon. I think we just want to make it as good as it can possibly be.
So I think in answer to your question, it's not much change really.
Just
continue, probably try and put a bit more energy into it now we've got the pandemic out of the way, and get the right.
And I think as your children grow older as well, like now I've been very much, I wanted to use these past kind of 4 years to really get stuck into them and, you know, make sure they've got the foundations and I know that they're okay to kind of go on to the next level. And now I have a bit more energy and time to give back and to put back into things. Because I think Michelle Obama, I think it was, that said that you never kind of equal in relationships. There's kind of, you know, you transfer of power all the time in terms of business. Like I'll put energy into the children, or you'll do this. From day to day, it changes all the time.
Well, we say we know our lanes, so he knows what he's good at, and I know what I'm good at, and you know, I'll say get out of my lane.
Yes, you know? And this is it.
That's a good phrase to use, really.
It is very true.
Yeah, that's good.
We need some insurance for that.
Yes. Relationship.
That's good. That's a good plan.
Yeah. Oh, John, Carolyn, thank you very much for having us here in your beautiful home in Algarve, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. I've really enjoyed it. And we wish you all the best, and thank you again.
No, thank you for coming.
Definitely.
It's a pleasure, absolute pleasure.
Yeah, really interesting conversations as well, and I think it's very important to have them.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode, but tune in next time to Business Success with Graeme and Leanne Carling.